like spokes on a wheel, and Allah is the hub. So it doesn't matter which one you follow, as long as you're sincere, as long as you sincerely follow. So whether you're a Buddhist, whether you're a Hindu, whether you're Christian, Catholic, Protestant, whatever you are, Muslim, it's all the same. As long as you're sincere, just be sincere in your belief in God, and that will take you to God. Of course, this is rejected. Allah did not reveal many religions. There is one human race with shared characteristics: spiritual, physical, psychological, emotional, shared characteristics. Allah sent prophets with one message. He didn't send them with a variety of messages. As Allah said, وَلَقَدْ بَعَثْنَا فِي كُلِّ أُمَّةٍ رَسُولًا أَنْ يَعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ وَاجْتَنِبُوا الطَّاغُوتَ. We sent to every nation a messenger calling them to worship Allah alone and to avoid the worship of false gods. One God, one human race, one message brought by the messengers. There were many messengers because, of course, human race is spread over the earth. So a number of messengers were sent, but they all carried one message. Meaning, they only brought one religion. That's why Allah said, "Inna ad-deena inda Allahi al-Islam." That the religion in the sight of Allah, which is acceptable to Allah, is Islam, nothing else. So all of these others are misguidance. No matter how sincere people may be in following them, they're sincere in misguidance. There is only one way to Allah, and that is Islam. Islam, as was brought by Prophet Adam, Prophet Abraham, Moses, David, Jesus, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and all of the other prophets who we don't even know their names. They brought one religion. And whatever exists in the world today of other religions, these are deviations, these are corruptions, man-made ways of life which are not in keeping with the message that was sent by Allah to humankind. So as there is only one religion, and all of these other religions are false, there's not more than one way to Allah, it's just one way. Similarly, that one religion is itself one, not with many different paths. We have Shia Islam, and the Shia Islam could be Buhri Islam, or it could be Aga Khani Islam, or it could be, Imami Islam, or whatever, all the different versions. No. Prophet Muhammad ﷺ left behind one Islam. His companions understood one Islam. And that is the Islam that we need to follow. Even the issue of the schools that we live today, where people follow different schools of law. If these schools of law are looked at as efforts of the scholars to try to understand and to apply the Quran and the Sunnah that one way, which is what it was. This is what Abu Hanifa was doing, this is what Imam Malik was doing, this is what Ahmed ibn Hanbal was doing, this was what Imam Shafi'i were doing. They're all trying to apply the Quran and the Sunnah to life, daily life, working out the laws, trying to help people to understand how to apply the laws. This is what they were doing. But where people turn these now into sects, where people will actually refer to their madhab as my sect, which reached the level where, as I have mentioned before in lectures, you had 4 different prayers going on around the Kaaba. It reached that state of deterioration where Muslims conducted 4 different prayers for each prayer in Mecca. When the time for Salat came, those people who are making tawaf, who are Malikis, they would line up when the adhan was, after the adhan was given, Iqamah was made, they would line up behind the Maliki Imam and they would finish their prayer. When they were finished, then the Shafi'i Imam would stand and all the Shafi'is who were making tawaf would come and line up behind him and pray. And so on, behind the Hanafi and behind the Hanbali. Muslims had reached that point. Reached the point where in the Hanafi madhab it was ruled that it was not permissible for a Hanafi to marry a Shafi'i. Is this what the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ left behind? No. This is not what the Prophet ﷺ left behind. This is something of people's making. People made this. People created this. This was not the religion of Rasulullah ﷺ. This is misguidance, misunderstanding. And if you listen to the statements of the scholars, the early scholars with regards to this, you will see that this was not their way of thinking at all. For example, Imam Malik was asked, I heard, one of the students of Imam Malik said, I heard Imam Malik and Imam Al-Layth, who was the Imam in Egypt, both say the following concerning the differences amongst the Sahaba. People say there is leeway for them in it, but it is not so. It was a case of wrong and right rulings. People say there's leeway, meaning it doesn't matter which of the Sahaba you follow, no problem. No. Those Imams said no. Some were right and some were wrong. And if you know what is the right and what is the wrong, then you must follow the right. That is your responsibility. Ashhab, another of Imam Malik's students, said, Imam Malik was once asked whether one was safe to follow a ruling related to him by reliable narrators who heard it from the companions of the Prophet ﷺ. He replied, no. By Allah, not unless it is correct. The truth is one. Can 2 opposing opinions be simultaneously correct? The opinion which is correct can only be one. So when we look at issues of schools of law, etc., we have to look at them in the light of right and wrong. We cannot say they're all correct. And this is a common saying. People say, you must follow a madhab. If you don't follow a madhab, your imam is shaitan. This is a common phrase. You hear this amongst people who are very much into madhab. So much so that I remember reading in one book where the author said that, you know, when Munkar and Nakir will come and ask you in the grave, what is your religion? What is your prophet? What was the religion you followed? And he will also ask, وَمَا مَذْهَبُكَ? And what was your madhab? This is a lie. Fabrication. A lie. You know, because people are so locked into this thing. But the reality is that these schools, every one of them contain errors. They were the efforts of human beings, and as such they're imperfect. So for anybody to say, I am going to follow this one blindly, this is a person who has not understood Islam. The only person that we follow blindly is Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. That was the shahada. When we said, وَأَشْهَدُ أَنَّ مُحَمَّدًا رَسُولُ اللَّهِ, that was our declaration stating that we would follow Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam blindly. Meaning, if he told us to do something and we didn't understand the reason behind it, we would still go ahead and do it. Any other human being tells us to do something, we need to know the reason. We don't just go and do it blindly. No, we ask him why. We'll try to find out why. Now, there are things which Prophet ﷺ told us, which Allah told us, where the reason is discernible. We can determine it. Or Allah has mentioned it. The Prophet ﷺ